Hey peeps, Fiend here, and we're continuing on with the Great Ace Attorney. Last episode, we started off our new case from a murder scene on wheels, and we've been introduced to our new prosecuting opponent, Van Zykes. And in this episode, we're gonna learn who we're truly defending. What kind of man Magnus Begilded really is? What kind of man is he? The philanthropist Magnus Begilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one with the very darkest of souls. What?
Stone the crows!
Begilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak.
I've never heard of any mention of that before.
Pardon me, bit my tongue. Your faculties have deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? Oh boy. What possible reason could this man have had to make use of public omnibus service?
You're not saying that...
The victim, a poor brickmaker, has next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused Magnus Begilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts.
Good gracious!
The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this pitiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life. By the merciless philanthropist pretender, Magnus Begilded.
I don't believe it. If I might add something briefly, Miss Usato? You claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. Begilded. But where's the evidence to support your claim?
Where did the wine come from? Pray, forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. Aha! There it is! Lord Van Zykes' hallowed chalice!
How can this be considered acceptable?
But I find myself in unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I did not expect to experience it myself.
As judicial assistant to the defense, I am simply doing my job.
What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside.
Oh.
Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. A marvelous toast, Counsel. I'll gladly accept this new evidence.
Okay, I am going to want to look at that.
Ah, yes, 20 guineas. The victim owned a considerable sum.
Okay, well that's good and all. I'm actually gonna look at that real quick. This portfolio must contain all sorts of secrets from London's gentry. Oh dear, do you really think we ought to look inside?
Oh, it's not as though we know any London's gentry personally, is it?
Apart from our great detective friend, perhaps. Actually, I wonder. I assure you we will not find Mr. Shom's name inside. Oh, let's see what we find. What do we got? Gosh, gosh, it's crammed full of gentlemen's names, isn't it?
Well, I suppose they're probably not all gentlemen at all, are they? After all, not everyone in this country is well off.
Goodness!
What is it?
Look at this! Do you see this name here?
Bruce Fairplay. Should that mean something to me? It does sound strangely familiar, actually.
Bruce Fairplay, the witness testifying at the very moment!
Oh, yeah, of course, the banker! Why is his name in here? He borrowed 20 guineas, did he?
And look, the repayment date is fast approaching. It's possible that this is just a coincidence, of course, but this could be very useful information.
Well then. Is there anything else I should be noted about? No? Okay, we're good. Okay. Okay. So, hear me out. I just kind of need to remember who's who. Oh! Oh! And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense.
Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes.
Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused.
And it's such a pretty little park, too. What a scoundrel!
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Still, maybe it's all for the best.
Oh, wait a minute! Let's think about this a little more before...
I don't stand for nonsense.
How was it? The last juror's decision.
According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the proceeding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. That's what it says here.
The final verdict? It's over then.
Oh! There's a footnote, though.
Footnote?
However, the defense...
All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision. According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Miss Usato, just tell me one thing. Oh, yeah?
You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense... What did it say next?
Oh, yes, of course. One moment. When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors at this point.
Summation examination? Well, it's a good thing we checked this evidence a little bit early.
Objection!
A summation examination. From which century has Antonio been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even given such an antiquated procedure I mentioned. It's a relic long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck.
Oh.
What even is it, Miss Usato? The so-called summation examination.
Oh, one moment and I'll read about it.
You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese.
Alright, Mr. Naruhodo, I think I understand. It seems that under this procedure, we'd be able to appeal to the members of the jury.
To do what exactly?
Appeal to them to change their leaning and reverse their decisions. And it says here that, if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed.
make them reverse their decisions. Yes, in times gone by, barristers would use a summation examination to attempt to influence the jury's decision. But that procedure became something of a formality with no practical benefit, really, so it rather fell out of use.
I wonder why.
Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try this day and age.
Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked.
What are you suggesting?
I am suggesting that although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. What do you think, Mr. Naruhodo?
Summation examination. Last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out or admit defeat?
We're asserting our right, my dude! The defense wishes to assert its right to a summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's our right, it's our right. I believe it could prove vital in this trial.
The defense's petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready?
Well, I'm not, there was no mention of this in the letter I received, you see, so,
All members of the jury will be asked to explain on what grounds they have reached their decision.
on what grounds?
You must all justify your decisions. Explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty.
Well, my lord, you're putting us on the spot.
This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before.
I don't really hold with all the justifying lock. It seems to have thrown the jurors off.
Seems none of them have experienced this before.
Alright then, the summation examination. A defense procedure no practicing lawyer has attempted for years, has it? Well, just maybe. It might be the opportunity we've been looking for to turn this trial around. So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant, Magnus McGilded, guilty of the most serious crime. There's one in particular we want to talk with.
There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him.
I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence.
He stuck the chap next to him like this. Present, I must say, absolutely present.
I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and was drawn a logical conclusion.
Across the gilded fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years.
The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor! It beggars belief!
I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now.
Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they?
Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their mind. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language.
Just a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. According to my book, that's not quite how it works.
Oh? I thought I was gonna have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant.
Unfortunately, once the jurors decide the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then... They've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched it may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruhodo.
Right. I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then?
Well, from what I can understand, The key to this procedure is using the juror's own words to make your argument.
What do you mean?
Well, the 6 members of the jury randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together.
And that's the way to break them down, you mean?
Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other.
I see. So it's contradictions in what the 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. No way, then. This is similar to a regular cross-examination.
Oh, yes, I suppose you're right.
Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off.
And we start proceedings, counsel. I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. Alright. Well, the main thing is, we already know we have dirt on one of these guys. The witness back there.
There was no one. Oh,
Right. Okay. So I'm gonna press.
Hold it!
Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim and Mr. McGilded were alone inside the carriage.
Precisely my point.
But, could there be some other explanation? Something we haven't considered yet?
Such as?
Perhaps that's something we could, all work out together now?
Now listen here, maybe you don't know how things work around here because you're from foreign climes, but we're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have.
Oh dear, he doesn't seem to be here in the mood to consider an alternate point of view, does he?
No, I'm gonna have to pit the jurors against one another, like Susato-san said. Finding contradictions in these 6 people's assertions is the only way I'm going to succeed. Well, the main ones that caught my eye was this part.
Hold it!
But does his ability to recall his takings that night really tell us how trustworthy the man is?
I manage all his lordship's cash affairs, so I'm very particular when it comes to the accounts.
I see.
A single penny can mean the difference between life and death after all, can't it?
That's a saying in your country?
My point is, a man who minds his figures is a man you can trust. Those of us in the service would swear to that, sir.
Does that bench really need any more polishing?
So, if the good driver says he saw Mr. McGilded in the act, I don't doubt him. The only task left to do today is disposing of the rubbish.
Now wait a minute. One of the other jurors mentioned something about money, I think.
Now would be a very good time to listen carefully to the juror's statements again, Mr. Naruhodo. If you notice an inconsistency in what the 2 different jurors are saying,
I should expose it by pitting them against each other. Let's see if I can do just that. Alright, so we're on the same thing, huh? It wasn't you. You're fine. Here we go. So I'm gonna pit you with you.
objection!
Those 2 statements clearly contradict each other. I thought this sounded weird too when we were cross-examining to begin with. Because it seemed like if there were 4 people with certain fares, then something was off about that money.
They do. Explain yourself, counsel.
Me? Oh dear, what have I said?
I swear to several places made a name. I haven't the first idea what you're talking about.
According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares.
Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly here in front of me.
And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence.
That it is a fair and convenient single price, just the way London carriages would be operated.
But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts.
Why, man? Why?
4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact. Or precisely, 1 person's fare.
1 person's fare?
Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it is distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about.
Good gracious! It can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men. One and all, trustworthiness is a watchword.
The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy.
I beg your pardon?
Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this is the trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride the omnibus.
Alright then, how do I make it to my... How do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end?
Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set scales.
Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go and... Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo.
Heck yeah.
This is all very irritating.
Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. Now we got some leverage.
For the love of Mike, not you as well.
A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in the financial matters.
Oh, really?
I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh, well done, Mr. Naruhodo. You did it! If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' mind, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more? Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly. You can do it.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you're on the floor again. Continue with your summation examination.
Okay. I'm gonna press you now.
Hold it!
Careful! You could hurt somebody like that! You're a fine one to talk. What of the sword hanging from your waist, huh? No, that's just my battered soul. Well, anyway, I despise anyone with too much money. Now, all the same, I'll stabbing some brickmaker or other behind the scenes. You mark my words.
Objection!
That seems very unlikely, doesn't it?
Are you mad, man?
We know that small shorty is a rotten Shylock.
Well, yes, that does seem to be the case, but... Mr. Naruhodo, please, be careful with what you say.
If he's been trying to squeeze money out of us less fortunate, then as far as I'm concerned,
He's as guilty as sin. The man can hang.
Come to think of it, didn't one of the other jurors have something to say about the defendant's underhanded activities? If you're thought of something, Mr. Naruhodo, don't let it go. Test your theory. Hit the 2 jurors who stay. Okay. No time like the present. Alright. So someone that was also mentioning something underhanded. Okay, you were just keeping notes of everything. Here we go.
Hold it!
Oh, whoops, didn't mean to do that button. I really think you should stop waving that needle around.
You heard what the good coachman said before, didn't you? That hideous man stabbed the poor fellow just like this.
Wait a minute. Yeah, that is what he said. You're right.
Gilded Park is such a lovely little place too. I've always enjoyed resting my legs there while I get on with my knitting. And I had thought that anyone who donated such a delightful place must be a fine fellow indeed. I suppose I was wrong. Whoever would have thought he was a miserable, littering moneylender with no scrap of remorse?
Oh, help. She's sure can be that he's guilty now.
The old lady certainly seems to know her mind, doesn't she?
Hold on a second, though. Okay, we're doing this now. Yeah, we know about the two jurors, and I know exactly who it is because the two stabbies kind of mentioned something weird. No, we're fine. Okay. The main issue is I just pressed the wrong button. So, the main issue right now is the fact that there are two people saying that he got stabbed in different ways. And it's you and you.
Objection!
Those two statements are completely contradictory.
What? Explain, counsel. Post haste.
Oh, dearie me. I was only knitting a jumper for my other half.
What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean? I ask you. We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant was stabbed by the victim. Switch that around. Bad word. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3.
What? Can't you see that I'm busy here?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it?
You want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fellowplay's testimony. Quite true.
Now then, juror number 6.
Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man?
How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam?
Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so.
Now don't move. Take a look at these two jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he'd collapsed on the floor.
Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions.
What?
Bless my stitches. What a muddle.
What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth.
Oh, but why? Why the dickens would they lie?
I don't know that yet. But what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience?
Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. I can't abide people telling lies. The scales.
I don't believe it. Wait! Now here, there's my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on all of us.
If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this?
Answer me this, Doc Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of if the two witnesses have slightly different recollections of the events?
What of it?
Let's say The Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus. And this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. And this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that,
Who are you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you.
Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you.
Oh, they're ready to kill each other now. But could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? Let me check something. Got the autopsy report. Stabbed once. It's out of the question. Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman.
What is it, you dog jinx? Come out with it.
What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question.
What? What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that out of the question, show me some proof.
Oh, I got your proof, buddy. Looks like the only way I'm gonna convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish.
What?
I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by the autopsy.
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once.
Only once?
It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times.
Alright, I concede defeat.
And that's 4. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruhodo. We've won!
What are you playing at, you dandy fool?
Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me.
But we are the consensus.
I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one, and if this chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off of his head.
Please tell me he's a barber.
Well, in a quite a remarkable turn of events, the defense's summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to educate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth.
Well, that's one way to turn this all around.
So, Lord Van Zykes, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
Oh, he's not going to be happy. Today, sir.
Oh! Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zykes!
It's getting cold in here, or is it just me?
As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a summation examination. So I honor the deathly silence and listen to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the journey. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Woo! Bring forth the witnesses once more.
And we'll do that in the next episode. This case is heating up and we're getting to the good stuff now. So I will see you guys in the next one. Later.